All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Three reviews up this week. Sort of a theme this week with the games, as they are all adventure games of one sort or another. Not all traditional, like really none are all that traditional. But we'll start things with a game called My Big Sister. This is another Stranga game. Uh, we have previously featured, remembering correctly, Red Bow and Just Ignore Them. And
hmm
My Big Sister is actually the is before Red Bow, um, which it's a bit odd because Red Bow kind of feels like the rough draft version of this game. Like
hmm
its gameplay style and its structure is very similar to Red Bow. Even like plot details, it's not all one to one, but you can definitely see the DNA in one and another. It's
hmm
just My Big Sister released first. Um, there are reasons behind that. We are interviewing the developer of this game next month, if I'm remembering correctly. So more on that in a few weeks. But anyway, My Big Sister tells the story of Louisa um, and her big sister Sombria. As let's see, they have to deal with ostensibly Sombria being turned into a monster, a yokai. Um, Not exactly sure what kind of yokai. It's like the game doesn't really get down into the yokai specifics too much, but that's not really important. It's more, you know, you are, you take it upon yourself to lift the curse, and as the game unfolds, well, it becomes a question of what the curse is and a whole other lot of other details that I can't really talk about here without spoiling the game. Um,
hmm
you know, Once again, it's in that context, it's similar to Red Bow. Um, Dealing with the afterlife, helping uh, various creatures solve problems or avoiding certain creatures. Like a bit of a just ignore them mixed in there as well. Like unlike Red Bow, there is actual. There's a few places where you can die, um, and to continue on with the comparison, the as I mentioned, the puzzle structure, the interface, it's all pretty much the same between the two games. What means you walk around and you talk to people. It's like it still ditched the point and click stuff from Just Ignore Them, and it works out well enough. I mean, uh, basically in terms of gameplay, it's about one step away from being a pure, walking simulator. It's like
hmm
you know the puzzles are a bit more developed than Red Bow, but that's a consequence of really everything here being a bit more developed than Red Bow. Uh, and in terms of graphics, once again, it's in the same style as the other games. You know, Generic 8-bit pixels and music. It's like it's a game that's invoking the retro style without really picking style. It's like it's one of these games where maybe this could be an NES game if the colors weren't too that good, or maybe this could be a 16-bit game if the actual pixel art were more detailed, that kind of thing. Uh, and it's also definitely the longest Stranga game I've played. Um, Previous affairs clocked in maybe 2 hours at most. This game will take you at least 4 to 5. You know, and it's also there is the regular ending and then there's the secret ending and all that stuff. Um, I don't think it would take you much more time to unlock that. Anyway, as far as the story itself, once again, it's it's like Red Bow, but better. Like, the themes, the ideas are laid out, but it's like, there's just more time for everything to develop and breathe. It's still it's still in terms of adventure games pretty small and short, but it's definitely a few steps above the other works put out by this developer. Let's see. And also worth noting that this game is available on consoles. Technically, it's like a Ratalaika game in that they ported the console versions, but we had access to the PC version in this one. So different publisher there. But, once again, it's in that Ratalaika style, basically. Just a bit more meaty than usual. And this is probably going to come into play with the other reviews because, those copies were provided by Ratalaika. So, anyway, more on that in those respective segments. Let's see. Pricing, this game clocks in at a bit more than the usual fare. It's $6. Like, geez, as far as if that's a good price, yeah, I'd say for what's available here. Once again, you have to kind of be like, if you're offset by horror or mature elements, be wary. This game does get bloody. This game does get spooky. This game does get psychological. But if that's not a problem, I'd say it's a solid game. Not a world beater, but definitely the best one of these I've played from the developer, by a fair margin.
Yeah, between the three of them, I think it's the best one.
Yeah, and worth noting that this game actually does have price parity on the consoles. So it's $6 no matter where you purchase it. The only difference is the Steam version has the requisite soundtrack available for $1 more. The soundtrack itself is fine, just it wasn't something I'd ever listened to outside the game. Yeah. So, and that is, in essence, my thoughts on the game. Did anyone Twilight, you've chimed in. Did anyone else have a chance to play the game?
I'm playing it right now.
That's probably not too helpful.
Yeah, I was mostly putting time into One Night Stand.
Fair enough. But yeah, overall, on the arbitrary scale of arbitration, I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. Solid, and about that rating. Solid. You wouldn't go wrong here, but it's like, it's not Game of the Year material either. Anyway, so that about does it for my big sister here. Be sure to tune in after the break as we will be reviewing a game literally called Football Game. It's it's an accurate title, but it's a pretty generic title for a game that's not all that generic, but more on that in a bit.